Tonight on Business Prime, the Ghana Association of Savings and Loans Companies appeals to the Ministry of Finance to exempt members from e-levy charges on payment of loans through mobile money. We'll hear from the Executive Secretary.
That it's in the right direction. Another way maybe the government can look at to improve on financial inclusion, and also the risk in moving cash around.
Also, banks write off 349.36 million cedis as bad debt in the first 2 months of this year, slightly lower compared to previous year. What does this signify? We'll hear from a financial expert. Plus, Bank, Ghana National Chamber of Pharmacy form partnership to support the creation of a formidable pharma industry.
Pharmaceutical products into the country, the potential of what sort of exports we can make out of this country, and what impact it can have on our growth, development, jobs, prosperity.
We have all these stories and more coming up shortly, but we're going to be starting off with commodities. We now start off with our first story. The Ghana Association of Savings and Loans Companies is appealing to the Ministry of Finance to exempt its members from the 1.5% e-levy charges on payment of loans through mobile money. According to the association, the levy will put extra financial burden on customers, a situation that could discourage businesses and individuals from borrowing from savings and loans companies. The Executive Secretary of the association, Chunebwa Kodrabuachi, spoke on Business Live.
Too late. Fortunately, we have seen in the release and the various communication materials that if someone is paying his quick loan, it is exempted from the levy. And therefore, we think that it's in the right direction. Another way maybe the government can look at to improve on financial inclusion, and also the risk in moving cash around, and the fact that the microfinance, the savings and loans companies are not that very strong in terms of buying a lot of bullion funds. These are some of the ways that we can advocate for an uptake of technology. And I must tell you that our members who are actually using technology have seen an upsurge of deposit, have seen a very sharp increase in asset growth. We have seen disbursement of loans gone up. If you compare it to prior years, you see that the institutions that are using technology are actually growing, and they are helping their customers very fast.
You made a point about financial inclusion. That was the fear, I guess, that with the implementation of e-levy, it would discourage more people from saving, for instance. Tell us a bit more about what you anticipate would be the impact on your operations once implementation of the e-levy starts.
We must say that the association and its members are not, in principle, against the levy. We are not against the law. We are looking at the practicality of implementing the law to make sure that the ordinary customer gets the best out of our services. And we are always available to support the government to roll out any program that will ensure that we improve on financial inclusion.
Banks wrote off 349.36 million cedis as bad debt in the first 2 months of this year. Now, that's according to Domestic Money Bank's income statement published by the Bank of Ghana, of which Charles Nixon Yeboah has more in this report.
The provisioning for bad debt by the banks was lower than what was recorded in January this year, but higher than the same period last year. The industry's asset quality also improved year on year, evidenced by the decline in the non-performing loans ratio, despite the nominal increase in the stock of NPLs to 8.1 billion cedis in February. The lower NPL ratio came on the back of a decline in the private sector NPL ratio to 15.3% in February this year from 16.5% in February last year. The sectors that recorded declines in their NPL ratios included services, electricity, water and gas, manufacturing, and mining. On the other hand, the sector that recorded the highest increase in its NPL ratio were construction, followed by agriculture, forestry and fishing, and transportation. The sector with the lowest NPL ratio was the services sector, though it is the highest recipient of the industry's loans.
Let's now hear from the Executive Director of the Center for Economics, Finance and Inequality Studies, Dr. Benjamin Amoah, who spoke on Business Live.
It's not strange that banks year in, year out will be recording non-performing loans. Our interest should be comparatively, is it better this year than last year? And clearly, if it's better this year than last year, then it is something good that we need to at least applaud the banks for recording marginally lower NPLs compared to last year.
And what can the banks do to sustain this trend and reduce losses, especially as we are seeing a rise in interest rates?
Again, the banks must, in this case, look at their whole credit management policy. Before the credit is extended to the customer, the bank should be aware of what we call the adverse selection phenomenon, where it is most likely those who are risky will be selected to have access to loan. And then after, the banks will also have to consider what we call the moral hazard aspect of the loan that has been granted. So if you look at before the credit is extended, the banks must improve on what they do to assess the customer. When the credit is given, the banks must also do the credit management of the loan that has been given. And then finally, the bank should also give the customer what you call a good experience, so the customer will come in for a loan. Because so long as the customer comes for a loan, the bank stays in business. If the customer refuses to come for a loan because of a difficulty that he or she has experienced, the bank has lost one business. So it's a trade-off between giving the loan and your NPL. The bank should look at how best they can manage these two aspects.
Indigenous Bank, CalBank, as well as the Ghana National Chamber of Pharmacy have formed a partnership to support the creation of a formidable pharmaceutical industry for the country. This partnership will see the bank support the establishment of the Pharma Industry Park at the Dao Industrial Enclave, among other projects. We have more in this report.
Partnership between CalBank and the Chamber of Pharmacy will support the growth of the country's pharmaceutical sector to benefit from the Continental Free Trade Agreement. Managing Director of CalBank, Philip Oredu, disclosed this to Joy Business at the Leadership Conversation Series under the theme AFCFTA and the Post-COVID Era, the Growth of the Pharmaceutical Sector in Ghana.
We saw the numbers when we were talking about imports of pharmaceutical products into the country, the potential of what sort of exports we can make out of this country, and what impact it can have on our growth, development, jobs, prosperity. And as a financial institution, we tend to play in these sectors so that we support the growth and development of the country.
The forum sought to open up opportunities within the trade agreement for stakeholders and players in the pharmaceutical industry to take advantage of. Chairman of the Chamber of Pharmacy Council, Harrison Abutiati, is confident that the concerns of funding will be partly addressed through the partnership.
CalBank came handy to discuss the pharmaceutical industry, its challenges, and how they can fund some of the projects that we have in mind. The biggest project that we've been discussing has been the Farmer Park, which is at Dawa Industrial Area. Like I was saying in my closing remarks, we cannot continue being individual players, but we have to come together and work and share costs so that the economies of scale can help us to produce at lower costs, which can be transferred to the final consumer.
National Coordinator for AFCFTA Office in Ghana, Dr. Farid Arthur, re-emphasized the need for the creation of innovative financial products that will support industry players to expand in their various spaces.
Now, the Ministry of Tourism, Art and Culture is embarking on the reparation and restitution of its illegal and stolen artifacts to the other parts of the world. Now, this is expected to boost the tourism sector and make it more lucrative to generate more income for the economy. Speaking at the inauguration of a focal team to embark on this initiative, the Deputy Minister, Mark Okrieku-Mantey, said his outfit will collaborate with other agencies to actualize the vision.
At the inauguration, the 22-member focal team on the reparation and restitution of illegal, trafficked and stolen cultural heritage and artifacts to country of origin was tasked to identify and support researchers to elicit data that will support the government call and demand for reparation. They were entreated to work with the Ghana Heritage Committee and other various security services as well as the Judicial Service to minimize the illegal acquisition and trafficking of the nation's cultural heritage assets. Here is the Deputy Minister for Tourism, Art and Culture, Mark Okrieku-Mantey.
The discourse on reparation and restitution of looted and illegally acquired African cultural objects in Europe museums back to their African places of origin has been ongoing for some time now. Since Ghana's independence, negotiations for the return of Ghanaian cultural objects outside the country have occurred. In most cases, these demands for the restitution and reparation of looted and illegally acquired Ghanaian cultural artifacts, whose locations, although known, have been denied or ignored. Ladies and gentlemen, the time for the return and restitution of cultural objects, film, and other intangible cultural heritage of Ghanaian origin, which are held in Western European nations and elsewhere, and are on the African continent is now. The ministry subsequently, in pursuit of the above, and indeed as a matter of urgency, has put together this focal team to work hard to achieve its objectives, the return and restitution of these cultural heritage assets.
Chairman for the focal team, Professor Kojo Gavua, called on the media to play an active role in ensuring the feasibility of this mission.
Try and work with the team. We shall invite them for a number of meetings so they can help in disseminating information and help with the public advocacy for this, because without them, it will be difficult for the public to have clear understanding of what it is that government is embarking on. So my appeal and encouragement to the media to play an active role in this whole endeavor.
The focal team in the coming days will prepare Ghana's case for reinstitution of Ghana's cultural heritage asset for reparation for consideration and action by the government.
Now, the Executive Director in charge of Wholesale and Investment Banking at the Ghana Commercial Bank, Sam Ado, is entreating financial institutions to invest into the tourism sector. According to him, there is a need for a concerted effort by the private sector and the public sector to drive and boost tourism to fight against the menace of unemployment in the country. He spoke to Joy Business at the launch of the Chasing Waterfalls book.
Launch of the Destination Africa's Chasing Waterfalls photo exhibition and tour guidebooks was an initiative by the United Kingdom Ghana Chamber of Commerce and its platinum member, the Ghana Commercial Bank. The project is designed to boost tourism by raising awareness about waterfalls in Ghana and provide information to guide visitors, easing their experience as tourists. Here is the Executive Director in charge of Wholesale and Investment Banking at the Ghana Commercial Bank, Sam Ado.
So GCP has a social contract to support endeavors such as this in Ghana. It's important that banks and other financial institutions step up to the plate and support any endeavor that's going to showcase the beauty of various parts of Ghana. To be able to drive the sector, we will need a collaborative approach from all stakeholders, and a bank like GCB is prepared to step up and make this support. We joined tonight's event as the platinum sponsor, and I think it's well worth our time to be able to support this.
President of the UK-Ghana Chamber of Commerce, Ajoba Chiama, revealed that the chamber will continue to support the tourism sector to drive the economy.
As a chamber, our main objective is to promote bilateral trade between the UK and Ghana. And so any opportunity to promote Ghana to the world, and particularly to the UK, is welcome. And the last 2 years have shown us that it's important that we promote domestic tourism and also tourism into Ghana as the world opens up again. And so, given that Steve Abebio's photography business is a member of our chamber, we are very delighted to support him and promote his work, whilst at the same time promote Ghana to the world.
Project lead Steve Abebio explained the rationale behind the project. He urged corporate bodies to support various waterfalls and tourist sites in the country.
Domestic tourism, I feel, is more powerful than we waiting for foreigners to come and do things. If we get up and do these things ourselves, we will be able to change our economy ourselves. That's why we're doing it. The people in these areas, they are enthusiastic, they're willing to work, but they don't have the tools. They need to do a good job. So training and some investment in how they're able to do what they do will go a long way to help.
The project is also expected to draw much needed attention to the importance of Ghana's water bodies and why they must be protected.
Now, producers and processors of cereals in the country say the decision by government to temporarily ban the export of soya beans and maize will create enough buffer to attain food sufficiency. Government, through the Ministry of Food and Agriculture, restricted the export of the two commodities as part of measures to ensure food security and enhance feed for the poultry industry. According to the convener of the Rice Millers Association, the move is commendable.
In response to government's temporal ban on the exportation of maize and soya beans, Yao Edupoku, Emela, and the convener of the Rice Millers Association of Ghana commended the government for the move. He is optimistic that Ghana could be self-sufficient with such measures in the short to medium term to boost the domestic supply of maize and soya beans.
Every country looks out for its citizens, and these commodities are staple diets in the country. So the first thing you do is that you make sure your country have enough food, and then the surplus can be exported. If we don't have enough of that commodity in the system, then it does not make sense exporting it. We are consumers of maize, we are consumers of rice. It is soy that has to go through a process, but we consume soy.
Mr. Edupoku, however, called for a reassessment of the implementation of the Planting for Food and Jobs initiative. He entreated the government to be strategic in dealing with millers across the country.
We need the government that will listen to us. Even if we don't have the degrees to support what we are saying, we are those who are on the ground. Because we are not getting the resources that will make it attractive enough for the banks to come in and invest in us. I must be candid. And the banks cannot put money where they cannot get their money back. And so this calls for the government giving it a holistic approach that I want to build this industry. Once I build it, it will be off my hands and then it will start running on its own. That is not being done. So the milling sector is not supporting the Planting for Food and Job wholly as it should be.
According to the government, the ban will help local farmers to enhance production to help the country store enough food to ensure food security and increase local poultry and livestock production.
Now, research scientists are calling for the commercialization of genetically modified organisms as it could contribute about $31 million to the economy. Their call is based on the changing climatic conditions, overpopulation, among others, which have resulted in the destruction of farmlands across the country. We have more in this report.
The National Biosafety Authority was set up after Parliament passed the Biosafety Act Act 831 in 2011. So far, 2 crops have been developed using biotechnology. They are nitrogen and water use efficient rice and the genetically modified cowpea. However, neither of these crops are commercialized yet, though they have gone through various stages of evaluation and field trials. Research scientists believe it is appropriate that the nation facilitates the processes for the acceptance of GM-related technology to enhance food security. Dr. Seth Mantiao is Agricultural Information Officer at CSIR.
There's a need for us to create a lot of awareness about how we can use biotechnology to promote agriculture. I mean, in the light of growing population, in the face of climate change, emergence of pests and diseases, there's a need for us to use more sustainable means of addressing these challenges.
Only 4 out of 47 countries in Africa have so far made it legal to plant any GMO crops. They are South Africa, Burkina Faso, Sudan, and Nigeria. A Ghanaian delegation recently visited Nigeria to compare notes as Nigeria has now commercialized PBR cowpea. Here is Director General of Nigeria's National Biosafety Management Agency, Dr. Rufus Ibeba.
Africa requires science and technology to drive its economy. The drivers of change, modern change, are science and technology. If you think it's culture and religion will drive the economy, the people may not even go to heaven. Risk assessment done on this cowpea follow the best international risk assessment procedures.
So what is the weight to commercialize GMO crops, as many countries are now thinking about being food sufficient?
Energy strategist Dr. Ayitey Sulemana says even though government has a medium to long-term model of transitioning from fossil fuel to clean energy, the task will be challenging and risk will be high. Speaking earlier on the marketplace, Dr. Sulemana explains that creative buffers must be established to ensure a smooth transition.
There can't be any better time than now, and I think it's the best time, especially for the fact that there hasn't been a situation or an environment where, energy transition has achieved what you call a phenomenal support in terms of the massive amount of funds that's actually going to the green energy movement. So I think the environment is just right. But I think what is critical is what strategy are we championing so that we don't impact our mainstream hydrocarbon, where we have a critical strategic advantage on. So I think Ghana is ready, but if you look at what happened over the last decade, last 10 years, you remember 2010, we gave ourselves a target to achieve like 10% generation from renewables. We couldn't do that by 2020, so it means that the strategy wasn't right. So the minister right on until we change our strategy, the strategy to make sure that, we give attention to where attention is due without compromising where we have strategic advantage. Then I think we'll end up in reaching 2020 or 2030 where we have shifted the next target and we'll find ourselves wanting. So yes, we need clear strategy to champion energy transition that will not impact, our hydrocarbon production.
That'll be it for Prime Business, but I will leave you with international business, of which we have sports. Just stay with us.